Hi, this is Matt Donegan on Business Spotlight. I'm here with Karen from TeamTogs. Karen, tell me all about TeamTogs.
Hi, Matt. Thank you very much for having me on today. So, TeamTogs, we are a branded apparel and merchandise business, and we've been going now nearly 21 years. And we specialize in outfitting our merchandise and accessories for corporates, for events, experiential, for clubs, groups, teams, education sector, and beyond. We're based in Radler in Hertfordshire. We're a family-run business, and we look after mostly the manufacture in terms of the branding of garments and merchandise on site at our premises in Hertfordshire.
Okay, so how long has the business been going then?
We've been going nearly 21 years, so I need to update my background here. And we were very much a business that was born out of frustration, really, within a world that I worked in, which was the sort of leisure, hospitality, and events world, seeing a need for a supplier who could provide a service and a styling service as much as a branding service around clothing and merchandise.
Nice. So you've got your business resonates a lot with that particular industry. So leisure, hospitality, is that a lot of the work that you do is going to be in that sector?
Yes, very much so. So that could be long-term uniform ranges that we supply, we style and supply to corporates, and certainly within that environment, because look like a team, play like a team. The staff have got to look good, but it also has to be, of course, on brand. There's form, there's function, and we also, so that's through marketing departments, but we work with HR departments in terms of talent, for making sure that staff have their incentives. That could be anything from a lanyard, a pin badge, a campaign to encourage performance and to attain certain standards within the organization.
So what you've just described to me there sounds like a lot of, I hope you don't mind me saying, but it sounds like a number of other businesses that provide that. But I know something a little bit different because I spent considerable time on your website. You have an absolutely incredible product range. How did that level of product range come around? Because that's very different from a lot of the players in the industry.
Okay, so our product range on our website is incredibly broad, and it is actually something we say it's a little bit of a beast, because it's something we're working on, and whilst we are keen to pull out, if you like, our top 10 or even top 100 products when it comes to merchandise, and maybe our top 100 stars for clothing, it's something that our clients, it's the main reason I think our clients come to us, is because we provide something unusual. So whilst we have a broad database of products that we can access, we work with our customers to curate the ranges and the products and the styles that are right for them, for their business, their brand, their people, and of course their stakeholders, their audiences. So it's come about through many years of industry experience, but also our innate understanding, probably because of my background in the world of leisure, hospitality, and events, where we instinctively know, when we receive a brief, how to handle it and how to give our clients the very best. So whilst it's a very broad product base, we can do the legwork for them, if you like. We can pull out and recommend the products and styles that can where we create that range with them, or we make our suggestions and style it together, if you like. And it is a beast, but it is one that we know to how to tame and handle very well. So
Taming your product beast, that's quite amusing. Because there is so much variety in it.
so much choice, yeah. And of course, with the move globally towards more sustainable practices, and that's not just necessarily through product choice, but also service and how you brand those items. Are you choosing, the right products with the right sustainability credentials, and are you decorating those, branding them in the most sustainable way? Feeding into that, of course, is the enormous discussion around circular economy, and what we're encouraging our clients to do around that, and whether that's through reuse of perhaps old brand or old garments, for instance, or merchandise products that are no longer needed, and putting those. We work with charity partners like Goods for Good, who are very well known in Hertfordshire, but also now more broadly across the UK and globally in the operation that they run, where we can feed product back into that economy for reuse, and recycling, repurposing in terms of changing brand that's on it and making it relevant for somebody else. And there's a lovely give back opportunity and circular opportunity within that as well. So it's all part of what we do. We'll take old uniform and move it on in the most sustainable way if our clients are open to that.
That's really cool. I really like that. Because it's the industry itself, like merchandise in general, when it comes to things like hospitality, I think it
Mhm.
has a reputation of things being quite throwaway, kind of single use, but particular for event merchandise in particular, it's kind of single use. So what you're doing is you're taking that inventory and then you're reallocating it, aren't you? You're reusing it in the environment. That's
We,
cool.
we are, and we'd love to do more of it. I can't, I honestly can't stress that enough. I just think there's piles of goods sat in warehouses that or marketing cupboards taking up valuable space, frankly, that it just doesn't need to be like that. And to be able to move that onto markets to places that need it, is actually fantastic that we can offer that. To be fair, that we've got the partners in place to be able to take it and move it on, and to be able to provide the services in house to do it. So if it's an overprint, for instance, on something, or removal of some branding to repurpose it, then that's the kind of stuff we really, as an aside, if you like, we love to do. I mean, we kind of love what we do anyway, but tagging that on as a new service in the last 6 to 12 months or so has been quite an exciting thing to explore. It's quite innovative.
And and with that innovation, do you find that clients are slow to take up, or are you finding that they're coming to you and saying, "Look, we really want to do this. We're
It's
now engaged with sustainability."
Yeah, so very much so. So we're very well known within the events and experiential world, and we are a partner with Event Sustainability Live. We attended last year, and we're back again this year. And so I think we make sure that we put ourselves in the environments where we have an audience, if you like, that's receptive to those services. So we are finding from those markets that we're being asked for that kind of support. However, we are putting it out there as well. We are encouraging it. We're welcoming that discussion and those requests to provide those services. So it's probably a bit of both, but ensuring that we're engaging with the audiences in the places where we feel we're going to get the best receptions as well.
Okay. So are you seeing that as the key area of growth in the business?
I'm seeing sustainability as a key area of growth for sure, and aligned to that is the recent pledge that we've taken through the British Promotional Merchandise Association, which is our commitment towards a more sustainable future and business practices. Also, very much a part of this is how we grow as a company and how we grow sustainably. And one of the ways we can do that is through our online offer. So we talk about the beast of our website, and we would like to evolve that into, whilst we have an e-commerce solution for our clients, for our corporates, for staff, for wearers as a wardrobe management service, we also have stores and online shops, and there we are working on a way of bringing online stores to a much broader audience. And what that brings on the sustainability side is an on-demand service. So no need to stock, selecting products perhaps with great organic or sustainable credentials attached to them. And the way we print, our printing methods are the most up to date for that on-demand nature, that service. And that's a real appeal, I think, certainly on the store side, to small charities, to PTAs, for instance, for the local tennis club who doesn't want cupboards full of stock because they don't know the sizes, that it can be ordered as and when needed. football clubs. It could be grassroots teams who would like to sell a bit of supporter merch, but of course there's no budget to hold loads of stuff, and frankly, nor should they. It should be available on demand. It should be accessible. So that's our sort of move in terms of growth, is towards producing a robust e-commerce solution that can really open up the market for sustainable purchase, and bringing people together through branding and brand building as well, which is amazing opportunity for smaller charities, clubs, groups, teams, and alike. Even influencers, people who want to just sell a bit of merch to get their brand out there because they're kind of being asked for it, and it's a nice thing to be able to have. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's quite a niche area. That, although
Mm,
very broad, it's also very niche in
yeah,
a conflicting way.
there's a lot of opportunity there for
Yeah,
yeah
huge opportunity. Yeah.
for growth.
Um, so let's move on to the challenges, because look, you've built a really good business. You know your target audience. You know who you're brilliant for as well. And I think that's one of the keys in business, is to find out who your most valuable client is and who values you the most. And you've got that with leisure, hospitality, the sectors that you know really, really well. Where are the challenges for you now? Because we mentioned, or you mentioned the online store. There's other opportunities. What's the challenge?
What are the challenges? That is a good question. I think managed sustainable growth. And I think for any business owner, entrepreneur, business owner, we've been doing this now quite a long time. And the challenge is always to innovate, but it's also to build on what we have and be happy at a size where we still feel we can offer our clients that consultative service, and it's keeping us niche whilst growing. And I think that's a big thing. I mean, what's going to happen in terms of the economic landscape? Our biggest challenge, obviously, in recent years, like probably everyone listening to this as a business owner, has been COVID and coming through that. Um, and but I do feel like we've learned so much, not just because we've been hit by a pandemic, but the lessons of learning to pivot, that great word, pivot, and just knowing that we are probably more resilient than, and believing that and reminding ourselves of that, more resilient than perhaps we give ourselves credit for. So I think with all that hopefully now behind us, the challenge is to make those right decisions for those next steps in terms of investment, and bring the right products to the right markets. And we just love to hear from our customers in terms of the things that they need from us. So because what's the point of developing services or products that no one actually no one actually wants? Um,
It's also about
yeah,
deciding which products and services that you can provide that you're best at. That
yeah.
so it's not just about. There's a danger in a pivot, in that pivoting a business can be very, very constructive. It can also be incredibly destructive, because you cease to pivot and sometimes you become a roundabout.
Mm.
And
Love that. Yeah,
that's so
it's
so
very good.
so there can be a danger in it, and it's sometimes going where the money is, or you think where the money is, instead of what you're really good at. How do you define? What's your criteria for deciding what your passion is in the customers that value you, as a, as opposed to just there's another opportunity over there, let's go and try that one. What guides you?
I think I'd be lying if I didn't say, as a business owner and entrepreneur that started this up many years ago, I do go with gut feel. Am I allowed to say that? You go with where you see that opportunity, or you feel is the right way. However, we do put a little bit more backing behind that in terms of data, and conversations we're talking to customers, weighing up at return on investment, for instance, and a realistic time frame, I think, for rollout. That's probably one of the key things that I've learned in the last few years as we've developed our operational efficiencies. So we have our own proprietary system for order management, for wardrobe management, for where clients can place their orders, as well as the stores that I mentioned. And I think it's remaining, having learned so much through developing that, it's through that, I would say, to have a level of realism in terms of how long things take to actually put in place and then bed down, and to accept that these things are an evolving process, and that you're always going to be building on, sort of improving them, continual improvement, and being open to that, reviewing best practices to make sure you're doing everything in the best possible way, not just internally, but is everything we do aimed at providing our clients with the next level of service.
Yeah. Okay. So a little bit of,
Sorry, I deviated a little bit there. Got me
well,
talking about stuff.
you've got back into, you start describing what's important to you, and
Yeah,
how you make those decisions.
yeah.
And essentially, there's a little bit of data and a big aspect of knowing your customer, intrinsically just knowing your customer. So what I find really interesting about that is essentially the recipe, the instant recipe to have a successful business is, first and foremost, is understanding your customer and how much they will pay for their problem to be solved.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the second thing is knowing the numbers. So know my customer, what pain that they have, and then the other part is how much will they pay in order to fulfill that.
Yeah.
You'll
And also understanding them, I think, Matt, which is you could take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And I think it's having a proper sense of realism around that. That we think we're going to develop this great system or process with great UX that they'll use doesn't mean that it will get used. And our starting point is always internal for something like that. If I talk to my merch queens, as we like to call them, our apparel and merch specialists here who just know our industry inside and out in terms of product sourcing and the ability to make magic happen, if you like. If they're using it and they can use it well, and we test bed that in house, if you like, before we roll it out, I think is a very sensible thing to do. And that's part of our plan, is to ensure that it's a system that works for us. And if clients use it, or we have the opportunities then to roll it out further, then brilliant. But it's certainly something that's enhancing a client experience with us from the start, pretty much. So,
okay. So
it's a big deal.
earlier on, you mentioned COVID, and obviously that was a massive curveball.
Mm.
A lot of clients in leisure and hospitality that would have been hugely affected by that. And although you do have clients in other sectors and you do serve as other sectors, um, COVID was, of course, a massive curveball for every single business out there. Was there another time in the 21 years of TeamTogs that you got you found another curveball? There was something else that really rocked the business.
Probably 2008 with the banking crash.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were 5 years in, and of course, I think it's a sort of a mantra, isn't it? If you get past your 5 years, then you should have something sustainable, moving into the future. And of course, it just hit us at around the 5 years, but we were much smaller, and we could manage it. We could see our way through it, and scale back. COVID, frankly, furlough was the savior, and I was sure it was for many companies. But of course, with that banking crash, we didn't have that, and we didn't have the client base that we have today. 5 years in was a very different landscape. Talking about COVID for a moment, and that is to do with face to face, because everything we do, whether it's in leisure hospitality, whether it's safety wear for a construction company, everyone we deal with, certainly one of our larger markets being the events and experiential world, face to face stopped. It was through a screen. And that's where that resilience and innovation comes in, and that's what I would say is the biggest opportunity in business, is to be innovating, looking ahead, and finding your way around things and different ways of doing them. And the packs that we were sending out globally as care packs, because people were all based at home, not even hybrid, just they just weren't coming into an office. So and it's that opportunity that it can bring, but when it happened, when we saw that news on the 22nd of March, I think it was, which is the term lockdown, how does anyone respond to that? How do you go, what is this?
Yeah.
What does that mean? So that was obviously the biggest thing, and the biggest hit to us, because everything we do is about face-to-face interaction, togetherness, and the world was disparate.
Both as a business and an industry.
Yeah,
So
huge.
it was that moment where you had the this is the business playbook, this is the business textbook, this is how you run a business. Let's just tear that up and try and find another one
Yeah,
about how you can run a business in that time.
yeah.
Is what was your COVID and other things? What's been your biggest learning?
Ooh, very good. Good question. Our biggest learning, or my biggest learning, um, give me a moment on that, Matt. Bigger than COVID, and
Well, not
the understanding to learn, to innovate, to build resilience. Biggest learning, and I'm still okay. I have my biggest learning, and we're still working on it. And that is what I would call having a war chest. We're still not there because of coming through COVID.
right.
It's having a war chest and gradually building that up.
Yeah, yeah,
I would say, to protect our business, our brand, our people,
yeah,
most importantly, our people, um, to not find yourself in a dire position, if you like. That's probably the biggest learning out of all of it, is to build on the sort of stepping stones that are there to ensure financial stability.
okay. So effectively building your own insurance policy was a
Yeah, yeah.
and was there one bit of business knowledge or book or video or film that either has inspired you or taught you something that you've never forgotten?
Um, well, I recently watched The Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay.
And I say recently, I have never seen it. And everyone said, you're going to love this film. And I really did. I wouldn't say it necessarily inspired me, but I did enjoy it. No, if I had to find or cite an inspirational leader, maybe I could give you that.
Please
I
do.
could I could give you that in two senses. So on a personal level, I could give you somebody, and I can give you someone on a more well-known.
Please do both.
Okay, so on a personal level, I would cite I sound like it's like an Oscar speech. I want to thank my family. Um, but on a personal level, it'd be my grandparents and my parents.
Right.
And I would say, for the simple reason of how inspiring my grandparents were, and my parents, who and continue to inspire through them. Just that sheer determination, hard work, taking managed risks, um, affording us all opportunities, in the future generations. They and still are. My grandparents are no longer with us. My parents liked and respected across generations. Amazing work ethics, and love for their family, and the teachings that you get from that. I think growing up, they were small business owners who built businesses, and that certainly helped. And it certainly taught me to work hard, but also, play nice,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
and be a decent person. So I think that's personal.
Yeah. Yeah.
My inspirational leader in terms of business, please don't laugh when I tell you this, but it has to be Dolly Parton.
Wow, I love that. Do you know
There
what?
you go.
Say that.
I'm sharing my secret Dolly. It's not that secret, I suppose, but my love for Dolly. She's hardworking, she's gritty, she made it in a man's world. You know, super talented, liked, respected. innately philanthropic, all those things.
She's,
Superb businesswoman, amazing empire, unashamedly, iconically Dolly, all those amazing things.
right.
Um,
She's the full package, isn't she? She's
yeah, she really is. She's
she's
an icon.
she's
Yeah,
creative genius. She's
totally. Yeah.
she she wrote what, two or three of the biggest songs in history all on the same day. I think
Yeah, I'm definitely still working on that. I haven't sorted the 9 to 5, but
but she's done that. She's created a business empire. She's done it with a smile on her face. You don't ever hear good things. You only hear good things about
yeah,
about.
she's wicked. She's totally wicked. Yeah.
She totally is. No, I
Yeah.
really I really like her.
Most people say, I don't know, Richard Branson. Yeah, he's cool. He's done really well. No,
Yeah,
for me, it's Dolly.
yeah. No, I love that. That's really cool. So if you so they're the people that inspired you along the way. What's the last thing you want to, not the last thing you want to do, but what's the next stage in the business where you think, right, it might, no business is ever finished, right? Ever. But there's a point where you aim for and you say, that's where I want to get to. How far are you off that?
It's a really good question. We have a business plan, a business growth plan. I would say with realistic timeframes, I would say we're probably only a couple of years off that.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, in terms of a sweet spot.
Right. That is
Yeah,
amazing.
I
That's
would say so. To get it exactly how, nothing's ever going to be perfect. There's always things you can do. And believe me, the list is like this. However, the things that I'd like to tick off to start bedding in and using in terms of day-to-day working practices and services to clients, and I would say we're probably only a couple of years off having it at that sweet spot, just really where we'd like it. A lot of it where, with the way the business runs now, I honestly so lucky to have the team we have. Fantastic team of people, super experienced, lovely culture. um the wheels turn, if you like, and it just kind of works. I mean, every business has its challenges, and you have staffing issues on some days, if we're all human. But I would say, generally speaking, so much of those operational processes are in place that it's exciting for us to be able to add levels of innovative services and products to what we're already doing. And I'd say probably a couple of years.
wow. Okay.
Yeah,
That's really within your grasp. That's fantastic.
yeah.
You're going to
Hope
be
so.
Dolly too. Is that what it's going to be?
I'll say that again. Sorry.
You're going to be Dolly too. Is that what is that?
Oh, I'd love to. I wish I could sing. In Dolly we trust. Yes.
So last question, and it is, I guess in some ways it's a bit of a cliched question, but I think it's relevant to you more than most because you're kind of getting near, or you are getting near that North Star, that not the end of the journey, but the end of perhaps the first part of the journey. If you were to meet yourself when you were first starting the business, when you were coming out of the
Yeah, good question. Yeah.
industry, and you're branching out into this, you've got this vision about what you want to achieve, and you've identified this problem. What's the one bit of advice you would have given yourself?
Buy Apple shares, maybe.
About running a business.
Oh, about running a business. Right. Okay. Yes. Um, one bit of advice. Yeah. Be able to build in holiday leave.
Right. Okay.
Very difficult thing to do.
That's
Listen to
really
my mother more when she told me not to suntan my face. Write about that when you hit your 50s. Don't trust people that use the word glamping. It's not a thing. Um, but yeah, in business, take holiday.
take holiday. That's really interesting because so many SMEs, in particular small business, in particular small business, medium-sized businesses are they move out of that. But small businesses, so many times I come across businesses and I say, how many hours are you working? And they say, well, I work from 9 until 6. And oh, okay, so when do you start checking your emails? and then you ask them about how much work they do at home, and then you ask them how much time they spend on the weekend just checking emails or checking documents or doing invoicing or catching up on paperwork, and then you add it all up, and it can easily be 70 or 80 hours a week. And then you ask them about actually what happens when you go on holiday. And it's quite common that they've got, and I've lived through that myself, but you've got your phone strapped to your ear and you take your computer with you.
Yeah, I mean, that's in the olden days when we first started out, that is how it used to be. Since we've expanded the team, that if we do take leave, because we're a husband and wife team, so of course between us we split between two sides of the business in terms of production. My husband works and looks after the studio and production elements and the output. If you like, I look after the project management side, the order management and operations. And so between us, we head up those two sort of areas, but we have a few strong people underneath, if you like, who are making sure the day-to-day happens. And actually, the best thing we did was a couple of years ago appoint an operations manager who is just absolutely wonderful, and has enabled us to take leave. That's one thing I have learned, and we should have done that a long time ago. I
Mm,
think that's a big lesson,
mm,
in terms of alleviating our or the need for Martin and I to be here, in terms of day to day. But it's still very difficult. I wouldn't say the phones are strapped to our ears or we're checking emails all the time if we do get away. But this year, for instance, has been an impossibly hard year to take any time out. And we're looking to do that over Christmas when things tend to quieten down. It's a much more relaxed time of year to be off. And I think it's also accepting that, there's highs and lows of running your own business, and accepting that you have those pros and cons, and you have to be sensible about taking that time off, and accepting that it's not always possible, and to enjoy it when you do.
mm. Yeah.
I think that's a big thing for us, is we can't do it often, regularly enough, but when we do, to have a block of time where we just, recharge.
Yeah, and the thinking happens best when you're away out of that environment.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
yeah, no, you're
Yeah.
right. So the comment about building in holidays is actually, there's a subtext there, which is build a team that doesn't rely on you.
Yeah.
That's
Which
actually,
is where, so when I say, well, 2 years and hit that sweet spot, I would say that we're well on our way towards that, but we need a bit more robustness for growth. And I would say within a couple of years, I hope we can achieve that. That would give us that sort of a little bit more breathing space, if you like, around being able to be out of the company to work on,
yeah.
on it, not in it, sort of thing. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that's been very illuminating. It's been brilliant to hear about 21 years of business. I mean, you'll
And my fascination with Dolly Parton. There you go.
fascination with Dolly Parton. But
Shine and sparkle. That's what it's all about. A
but
little bit of gloss. It makes all the difference, Matt.
uh, what I would say is that anybody watching this is go and check out the TeamTogs site, because it is like an Aladdin's cave. There is so much on it, and it opens your eyes, it expands your mind about not only what you guys can do, but what what the business, what the industry is capable of doing. And with this sustainability angle that you guys have got, I think there's the world's your oyster. I mean, it's fantastic. I love that. Love it. Brilliant. So look,
Wonderful.
Karen, thanks
Thank
so
you.
much for your time today. I've really appreciated it. It was great to learn more about TeamTogs, because there's so much you can pick up on a website, but my gosh, there's so much more that I can pick up from speaking to you today. So thank you so much for your time. Karen, let's keep in contact. I know I'm going to be back on that website soon anyway.
Lovely.
So let's keep in touch. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you.